It's the day you've been counting down to for months. The suitcases are packed, the alarms are set, and the excitement is off the charts. But let's be honest, travel day can also be one of the most stressful parts of any Orlando trip. So tonight we're sharing our top tips, experiences, and must-know advice to help to make your journey to the magic as smooth as possible. So if you've got questions, drop them in the chat. This is your chance to ask us anything about navigating airports, long-haul flights, and everything in between. Welcome to the Great British Mickey Waffle Live.
Now my wheels in motion and my windows open with the wind blowing in my hair. I'm driving down the highway, gonna do this my way. I can feel it in the air. Here I
go. Hello everybody, welcome to the Great British Mickey Waffle. So if you're new here, we're a group of UK Disney fans who love talking about all things Disney, travel and making magical memories. So welcoming everyone in tonight. So we have Becca.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm all right.
You looking forward to this?
Always. I love a travel day.
See, are our suitcases packed? I know we've got a trip in a couple of months.
Yeah,
so.
and I need to write a packing list.
Okay. Claire, I know you have a trip coming up very soon. Are your suitcases packed or are you a last minute? Packing in...
I used to be a planner packer. I am now far more a last minute packer.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I tend to do it the day before, if not the morning off sometimes.
Do you have a list though?
In my head, I used to write it down. Occasionally I still do.
Okay.
But no, if it depends who's going as well.
Yeah. Whether you're packing for everybody. How about you, John? How are you?
I'm all right. Yeah, it's one of them weeks, isn't it? It's just like
wishing it was a travel day.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. Yeah.
And we can pretend. We can pretend tonight, John.
Yeah. I think that's going to be the uplifting part of this week. You know, when you rely on your car for earning an income and you have your service and MOT on the Monday.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly how I've been feeling.
Scary situation.
So my wallet is somewhat lighter than it was on Sunday. I'll put it that way.
I was going to say that's probably a good tip. Actually, don't book MOT
service on a Monday.
No,
when you're on
holiday. Imagine it's like pre-travel day, or you want to get to the airport, and it's like, we've got to order parts for your car.
Yeah,
that's not a good idea.
Not a good idea. Not a good idea. But hey, enough of my complaints anyway. That's it's one of them. You have to do it. So
well, we're gonna cheer up your day, John.
Yeah,
lovely. That's just what we need on a Wednesday. Really.
And I can see there's lots of people in the chat already. So if you've got questions or any tips about travel day, put them in, and we'll discuss them a little bit later.
Yeah,
who was in first? Let's give them a bit of a shout out. So first in, I think before all of us was Heather.
Yeah. Heather, as always. I think this is becoming a regular thing on a Wednesday. Heather's in even before we've actually got ourselves totally in the groove.
Time difference now, which I know is only going to last for another week or so.
Yeah, I think 4 hours does make a difference. Must admit.
We have Samantha.
Who else we got? We've got Sean.
See, I misread that comment as something you should always have on a travel day as alcohol.
Well, to be fair, this is Sean. I can understand why you may have thought that.
Yeah. And it depends on what sort of travel day you want to have.
So, I would agree with that, but we'll get to the airport experience in a minute.
Yeah, definitely.
We have Hannah. Hi, Hannah.
Wow.
You got Danny. Hi, Danny.
Yeah, hi, Danny. Hey,
I think the thing is, every travel day, you get so excited, but it can be the most stressful day of the trip. All that anxiety, everything building up. Have you got everything? And it's just so difficult. And
I'm too busy being excited to be stressed.
Oh, you're the excited.
I'm the excited. Yeah. You're stressed. You're worrying.
Are you that 1990s Walt Disney World UK advert where the kids wake up and the parents are sitting on the edge of the bed and I can't sleep. I'm too excited.
Me. If I even get any sleep the night before.
Yeah. Jack's in the chat as well. So hi, Jack.
I agree with you. Sean wants to call in sick tomorrow and make it a travel day.
Sounds like a plan, Sean. I'm with you.
I'm with you as well, Sean. That sounds a far better way of doing it. also a shout out as well. I know they're not in the chat, but we actually have regular viewers who at this particular moment are either packing or are just in that little sort of space of mind where all the bags are packed and you're just putting everything just in the right place to put in the car tomorrow because they're off to Manchester Airport. So Simon, Wendy, and Izzy are all heading to. They're doing a Universal holiday, and actually, it sounds absolutely amazing. So, they're going to have a great time and loads of stories to tell. I'm sure.
I'm not jealous at all.
I'm not whatsoever. You know, I actually had Izzy for a driving lesson yesterday, and the excitement was absolutely palpable. It was just like, you know, it was the quickest hour of the week so far because it's just like the list of things that she's planning on doing. You know, and that's without like Simon's going to watch opening day of the baseball season. Izzy's going to Volcano Bay. She's got all kinds of things already planned. It's just going to be an amazing trip. So.
Oh, I love that.
Have a great time, guys. And actually, I did message Simon last night. So it would have been one of them things. We've actually got you a live view in on their living room of just what your house looks like just 24 hours before the trip. I think it was
does everyone tidy their house before they go on holiday? Just want to check.
Oh, do you know what? That is the thing that I used to hate with my parents. I remember going on holidays with kids, and like they would be like tidying and cleaning and changing beds and
why are you hoovering?
Right, cleaning out the entire fridge and all of this sort of thing. It's like
right, and I used to just be so fed up with it, and it was really, really irritating. I am now that person.
I was going to say, as an adult, bed needs to be freshly made.
You know, the fridge has to be emptied and cleaned out. Fresh, clean bedding, bleach in the toilets, the whole lot. Yeah. That's me.
Make sure the bins are emptied, all that sort of thing, because you just don't want to come back to a messy house. And
no, it's a must. It's a must do. I'm right with you, Claire. It used to annoy you as a kid.
Yep.
You never saw the point. It also reminds me of that Peter Kay gag as well, wasn't it? From one of when Peter Kay started off. Oh, just hoovering just in case the burglars come. I'm all right. Don't want the burglars to think we live in an untidy house.
Right.
Yeah, that's I totally get it. But yeah, I just want to say we have quite a few people joining us in the chat today. So if you haven't already, don't forget to hit the like button and also share the stream out. So anyone else who is watching, the algorithm, it shares it with people like-minded people like us. So,
I hope everyone noticed. I think we've all done that this week, which is really good because sometimes we forget and things like that. So yeah, just click on, if you're on Instagram or you're on Facebook, just click on it and share it to your story or whatever. It just gets more people involved, and it's actually that's what we're about. I know Hannah's in the chat, and I think I'll come back to what Hannah said a few weeks ago. It is that moment on a Wednesday we just have a collective hug, and just by the time the show ends, everything just sort of feels that little bit more calm, a little bit collective. Yeah, I think that's exactly it. I've really
I can describe that. I can just do the noise. So
and we focus on positivity here, so I think it's time we start on something positive that is in the news this week. So I think it's time for our news segment. And talking of positivity, I know something that isn't particularly Disney, but something we have covered a lot here on the Great British
Biggest news of the week.
Biggest news of the week.
I'm so
Lasso
excited.
Season 4.
I am beyond excited.
It's taken all of that belief and it's just, I can't wait.
You know, I cannot wait. It's just going to feel such a long time waiting for it to come round. But, you know, first episode is going to be in Kansas. And then the confirmation that Roy Kent is coming back, which I can't wait. I can't remember what we were watching some rugby at the weekend, and the ref was shouting tackle, I think.
Whistle.
I was just trying to walk, and I went, it's like a Roy Kent moment. It's just...
I keep getting on my Facebook feed. I keep getting this bit of Roy Kent and was it? Oscar the Grouch from Sesame Street.
Yes.
Sesame Street this week is brought to you by the letter F.
You know what? We love Ted Lasso. on this podcast, and I'm sure that we can just book a show in now for whenever it's on, and we will do a review of season 4.
Or a watch along, or
a week. We'll just do a weekly review of the show.
Yeah.
I love that.
We won't be talking Disney on a Wednesday for a couple of weeks.
Right.
Yeah. We've got something to pass that week between. And that was the thing, because when I first discovered Ted Lasso, I was able to binge the first season or so.
Oh, yeah.
And then when it got later on, it was like, no, I've got to wait a week between each. So,
yeah. But yes,
excellent
news.
I actually think that's the best way to watch it week after week, Ben, because when it finishes, you go back and watch the whole lot again.
Yeah.
I've just watched loads of Drive to Survive. Yes. And it really disappointed me, that the fact that you just sit until the very small hours of the morning and watch the whole thing. And it's just like,
John, I think that's because the first few Grand Prix are over in Asia. So you've got to get used to that time difference, because I know the Grand Prix this week is 3 a.m. in the morning. Yeah. Do you know what? Let's drive us back to Magic Kingdom.
Just before that, if anyone's on Disney Plus, this very day have put every single Simpsons in order.
Yes.
And you can watch it on a 24-hour basis. I was just thinking of that whole thing about staying up late.
Yeah.
And could you imagine watching every single Simpsons episode in chronological order? And I'm thinking that could be a bit of a challenge for somebody. So if you're in the chat and you're going to do 24 hours.
Millie is currently in season 3 of The Simpsons. She's working through them all in order.
Wow.
From start to finish. She's been working on it for the last couple of months.
I think we might be covering a lot of TV.
She's learning some very valuable life skills that I've completely forgotten about. But you know what?
When her behaviour nosedives, Claire, you've only got one.
It's not that. Some of the content is certainly, she's 12 and a half, so she gets quite a lot of it. And it's like, I was sort of sitting there in the kitchen wincing slightly. Just you know what? It's Simpsons. It's fine.
Yeah, I think later this year we're also going to cover more Disney TV, because Phineas and Ferb is back this summer. So we're definitely going to have to cover that for the
future.
Yeah. So taking it back to now, Disney has made quite a few changes to rope drop procedures in Magic Kingdom and Hollywood Studios. So it's very interesting that the rope doesn't drop. You just go, if you've got early entry, you're staying on site, you've got early entry, you just go up to the ride and join the queue.
So you can be flying at 7:15?
7:45.
7:45.
Yeah, 7:45.
8 o'clock open?
Yeah. Where you used to have, you'd always be allowed at 7:45.
Yeah.
Even for a 9 o'clock open.
Yeah.
You could just go and get coffee. You could.
But does that mean some idiot is going to stand in the line for Tron, or the
Seven
music
Dwarfs.
in Tron? I thought Seven Dwarfs is the one, because the music after a little while becomes a bit penetrating. Whereas the Tron music's awesome.
Yes.
Can you imagine standing in line for an hour and 15 minutes before Seven Dwarfs opens, just for the sake of getting on it at 9 o'clock?
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
I can't see why you would want to do that.
I could see the benefit more for me at Hollywood. I think it's possibly a crowd issue more than anything else. Because
it's just the park's not going to feel busy, is it? It's just going
to. No, where you you'd always be held. What was it, by the teacups? For Seven Dwarfs in sort of Tomorrowland entrance before getting into Tomorrowland. It just means that they've got more capacity to.
I was so excited when I saw that there was an announcement about rope drop. I was thinking they were bringing back the show at the train station.
And that's what's missing, Claire. That's definitely what's missing.
They've gone the wrong way.
They have. While we're on this subject of rope drop as well, shall we go with our brand new feature that we've only featured 4 times now? Guess the time of Guardians as we are live.
Okay.
Now,
what's the queue time?
45 minutes.
No, what time is it? It's like 4:45 in the afternoon.
4:45.
Someone give us a time check.
What's the weather like?
No idea.
See that?
It's March, so I would assume
I'm going to go. It's spring break. Oh, it's spring break. Right, I'm going to go.
Has spring break started?
Yeah.
Yes, it's mental this week.
I'm going 90 minutes.
So I'm going.
I went 85.
95.
100.
Higher.
Is that higher or lower?
Lower.
Wow.
Really?
Okay.
75 minutes.
Wow.
That's not
Okay.
It's still a
terrible.
lot.
It's an
I
hour,
feel
but
like-
I would say you could probably spend up to an hour in the
Yeah.
if you have a
In that
virtual
queue,
queue,
quite
sometimes you
easily.
get half an hour, 40 minutes.
So 75 minutes at 4:45, spring break. Lots of people will be off around World Showcase already drinking. So
But it's one of them things. It's actually that whole rope drop thing. I think is becoming a little bit of a barrier for some people. You actually have to think sort of reverse way. And I think for Guardians, the past few weeks it's been around about an hour at this time in Epcot, and to me that's doable. That's
I'd do an hour, but I wouldn't.
But I think if you get to rope drop time, by the time you've gone in early, then you've got the time where you're queuing up. Then you've got, you don't know, you're not in control of how long you're going to be waiting. And I think that's the bit that for me, I feel that's the bit that we're kind of losing. We're losing a little bit of that magical part of rope drop, irrespective of whatever park it is. It was always that, even in Epcot, where you were held, where you were held, and they still had characters that would open the park.
Yeah, or the janitors had come out. And,
and we're losing that very, very gradually. And actually, I think it's a really unfortunate bit. And I'm with you about the railway station. I think we spoke about it on a very early podcast that we did. I can understand why that actually had to change, because actually too many people in one place is probably on a risk assessment is not a good thing.
No. What I really enjoyed, though, we in Hollywood Studios in 2019. So this was when you had Galaxy's Edge, relatively new open. You had Toy Story Land. And then you had when you got into Hollywood Studios, you'd walk down, and there was like 3 queues. So it depends on which part of the park you were going.
There was about 3 people in the queue for Tower of Terror.
Yeah, the cast members were there. There was a huge queue for Galaxy's Edge. There was a huge queue for Toy Story Land, and the 3 people that were in the queue to go to
Tower of Terror. And
the
clever people were waiting for Tower of Terror.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially when it was probably a 13.
You go on Tower of Terror, I'll get a coffee from the Joffrey's car.
Yeah.
Taking us back to Epcot, there has been a new lounge announced. Well, we knew about the Spaceship Earth Lounge, but we actually have a name.
Yeah.
Geo82.
I love that name.
I do too.
Geodesic Sphere, 1982. Epic name. And
good name.
Over 21s
only.
Because I had a conversation with a friend of the show, who shall remain nameless, last night, and said, "Oh, this sounds like your kind of lounge. There'll be no children." And they had not realised that, and they said, could they reserve a permanent seat there from now on? Naming no names, Jason Knapp.
I knew that's who you were talking about. That's even worse.
I have to admit,
I like nothing but with children. I like children; they're fine, but it would be nice to have an adults-only space in Disney World.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be amazing. I'm really interested to see what they do with prices.
Yeah, from what I see, it's reservation only to begin with, which would be my guess. So it'd be a bit like Space 220 when it opened. When it probably won't be many walk-ups.
Yeah.
But who knows? We don't know an exact opening date, but it will be coming soon. But what they did this week.
Yeah, I also feel though, Ben, and I think this is going to cut into where you were about to say what's happening in Magic Kingdom. At least with Epcot, it's open to all.
Yeah.
And I think for me that, I'm not DVC, so I'm not going to be able to access that lounge that's in Magic Kingdom.
We can get you in, John.
I know you can, but it's the principle of it. And I actually think that I really do believe that there shouldn't be these little secreted little parts of the park that nobody can access. I think
Club 33.
Yeah, well, that's a little bit that's
more
money.
expensive than DVC.
That's more money driven more than anything else, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't think it's right. It doesn't sit well with me. But that's just me.
It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because you want Disney to be inclusive for everybody, and sometimes it just feels like Disney is sometimes on that sort of like extra. You must pay extra to get in here. So it'll be interesting to see what the price is of that lounge, and when the lounge opens later in the year, the Pirates one.
Yeah. have to say, just in the chat, the over 21 thing seems to be very popular. I'm assuming that's probably Robin who put that in, saying,
Yeah.
might be Simon, but I have a feeling it might be Robin. And Wendy says that, you know, kid-free spaces are so welcome. I adore my kids, and one of them is under 21, one is not. But I can see the attraction if you don't have children, or your children are older, or, you know, to be in a space where there isn't someone else's child running around. And that does happen. I don't like it in restaurants, but you know, there are so many places you can go with kids. To actually have an adult space, I think is a really good plan. I think it will attract a completely different group of people, maybe, and that's something for everyone.
Yeah. And surprisingly enough, the DVC lounge opened yesterday. And it caught, I think, a lot of people by surprise because I just got an email saying it's now open. Normally, a Disney or one of those things, they don't go, "Oh, it's open today."
Where is the DVC lounge? It's the one that was in the shooting gallery.
Yes, it's the shooting gallery. Yeah.
Okay.
It's quite funny because Robin's asked the question, "Am I not DVC yet?" And that was after last week's show.
Which you
were very close.
You missed the story about the MOT at the beginning of the show. Even if he wanted to, he wouldn't be there.
I think Simon was actually in the chat. Just going back to what we talked about at the very start of the show. But he actually posted, he has tidied the house, but he's also sent me a picture. The bags are packed.
Oh, nice.
And he's got his Tampa Bay Rays hat on the top as well. Strange enough, they're only going with 2 bags for 3 people. They're buying another bag out there to bring back home.
I'm going away for the weekend,
which
2
is
nights, and I've got a suitcase and carry-on.
That comes as no surprise.
2 nights. I don't do packing like
that. So the DVC lounge is now open at Magic Kingdom, and Whispering Canyon Cafe is closing for refurbishment all throughout May.
Okay. I'm not worried about that.
No.
But if anyone's got it booked, you probably haven't now.
I think it's probably a bit overdue, to be honest with you. The tables and the chairs are really heavy in there. When you sit down, you try and move the chair to sit down. It's like you need to do weight training before you can move it. It's ridiculous.
Do you know what? I think now it's the time to actually get on with today's topic.
Yes, definitely.
That's what we're all here for. So, how does your preparation go for a travel day? What do you do sort of the day before? Do you always make sure you have the day off work? Do you spend it packing? Do you go to the airport the night before? Claire, where does it begin for you? Where does pre-travel happen?
Pre-travel happens on the flight on the way home from the previous trip.
Looking at flights, how much is flights?
No, so for me, I tend not to have the day off the day before we go. It depends on the day that we're traveling, but we have recently traveled on a Monday or a Tuesday, although this year we're traveling on a Thursday, I think. So Monday or Tuesday would be my preference in terms, because then you've got the weekend to prepare. Depending on the flight time, so if we're going in the morning, we do tend to fly BA and the 10:40 flight if we can get on it. We do stay the night before, even though we don't need to. For me, there is just that stress of, am I going to hit the M25 at a really crap time? And is the 50 mile an hour speed limit that seems to be on the M20 and M25 going to be there for the next 50 years? It feels like it. So I would rather go to the airport the night before, go for a bit of a London Gatwick Premier Inn massive. The people watching is the best experience of almost of the whole trip.
Premier Inn people watching.
If you've never, honestly, oh my life, the people watching in the bar at the Premier Inn at London Gatwick is epic. And more than once I've bumped into the same friend at that hotel, which I didn't know they weren't going to the same place as us, and someone that I hadn't seen for a very long time just appeared beside me at the bar, and that's happened twice, the same person, and we hadn't discussed that we were going away. So it's bizarre. There's often people that you know there. I think that it's as a hotel at the airport goes, it's cheap, it's cheerful, the food in the restaurant is almost edible. The drinks at the bar are not overly expensive. If you want to go over to the North Terminal, over to the South Terminal at Gatwick, it's like a Wetherspoons style.
Yeah.
I don't think it is a spoons, but it's like spoons. So the food, there are options. There's a giraffe at Gatwick. We have stayed.
That's a restaurant, not.
Sorry. Yeah, I assumed everyone knows what giraffe is, but maybe not everyone does.
No.
So yeah, we tend, if we're in the morning flight, anything up to 12 o'clock, I would say, we would stay the night before at the airport. And parking probably in long stay car park.
Yeah.
If we're going for 2 weeks, if I'm going on my own for 5 days, like I've booked in April, we're not going the night before. Morgan and I are going up that morning. We're on the 10:40 flight. We're going to go early, and I booked short stay car park, so because we're only away 5 nights. So but generally, if we're going for a longer trip, go the night before, then we can just chill, have a drink, early-ish to bed. I don't sleep. I'm a bit of a nervous flyer anyway, so I tend not to sleep at all. I'm one of those people that wakes up every hour thinking, have I got this? Have I got this? What time is it? I don't want to miss the alarm, all of that stuff. So
have you ever forgotten anything? Because I have to admit, yeah.
If I say no, I know what's going to happen. We forgot. Yeah, I've forgotten loads of stuff.
Yeah,
but nothing
it happens,
like,
but
I get in the car and I'm like, have we got credit cards and passports, mobile phone and charger? If you've got those things, then we are sorted, because everything else can be bought at the airport or when we get there. That's kind of how I work on the theory.
Right. John, how does it work for you for your preparation to your holiday?
Yeah, so essentially, because we live that far away from the airport, so we're like a 3-hour drive to Manchester, or we're at least 4 hours on the train down to London. It generally starts, the whole thing starts the day before, and we kind of leave home. We leave home in plenty of time in order to avoid that whole scenario, which I think it happened one time to us. I mean, we were on a late flight. We're going somewhere in Europe, and we were on like a 4 o'clock flight out of Manchester, and the M62 was shut. And at that point, you are scratching around trying to find other routes to avoid the motorway. But then every news report is saying that such and such a town is
snarled up
because the traffic's
everyone else is doing the same.
Yeah. And at that moment, we just vowed that we would never ever go to the airport. We would always do it, and I'm probably jinxing it because I think we're going away in a few weeks and we're going on the day, but we're going to Newcastle, so that's fine. So we generally now get the train, because one, I think the price of parking in British airport car parks has just gone through the roof. So if you're going for 2 or 3 weeks, it's a lot of money to be paying, when actually you can just get the train there, and actually it takes an awful lot of the stress out of it. One of the nicest things is the fact that because you go in the day before, and because you're actually leaving home, you actually, by the time you get on the train, it's that there's no turning back now moment. And you basically, if you haven't got it, that's it, you're stuffed. You can't get back home or anything like that. And so you have to be quite methodical. You have to just sort of make sure that you've got everything you need. Passport, print out of the ESTA, travel insurance.
Print out.
Let's face it, we all do it, don't we?
Yeah.
I mean, the 4 of us on the screen do it. I wonder if anyone else in the chat does it.
I'm going to say, I think it's one of those things that, even someone who works with technology all the time, I will always have, the only thing I'll always make sure I've got printed is the ESTA.
Yeah.
And the parking,
I have
the hotel,
I have a nice
like,
little folder.
We have a folder, and
I have a
print out
folder.
everything.
Yeah, I'll print everything out, but also it'll be in the order that I need it.
It's needed.
So when it's like, okay, not the night before, the car parking.
So car parking entry, hotel, check-in details, ESTA, lounge access if you're going to do it, and then car hire, hotel, and then everything on the way home as well.
Yes.
Yeah. That's exactly the way.
Yeah. But what I'll also do is have it on my phone, but not like in Cloud Drive. I'd make sure that it's saved on my iPhone. So just in case I've run out of signal and I've lost the paperwork's in something that.
See, I keep everything in my Google Drive.
So you can, but just make sure that you right click it and go offline files.
Oh man. Now I'm worried about doing that. And photos of everything, photos of everyone's passport, photos
of theme park tickets.
Yeah,
experience.
Now that got you out of trouble
back and
before
front.
as well. Yeah.
Back in 2016, first big group trip, and I had everybody's passports and everyone's Universal tickets because I was doing the online check-in for everybody. We were going through it all. And then the transfer turned up. So we're all in a rush to get out there and get sorted. So I was handing everyone back their passports. Didn't realise on the dining room table was everyone's Universal tickets. Brilliant. And then I realised once we got to the hotel the night before, so it was like I had no car to get back. It was like, okay, I could get the train back from Gatwick and it was like, and this was we kind of worked this out at 9 o'clock at night. Then I thought, okay, I'm going to try contact Universal. Is there anything we can do? Because attraction tickets at the time was closed because it was late at night, and so it was like, no, just took a screenshot. Managed to get to Universal. We changed our first day to go to Universal and sort it all out, and they did everyone's tickets.
I'm just looking in the chat, Ben, and we are not alone.
Yeah,
everyone is saying that. Some people do it in like triplicate in everywhere. So there's a screenshot, there's saved in files, there's saved in,
always can't trust my phone. It's brilliant. Yeah.
This is the thing with everyone's doing it. Apart from Danny.
Yeah.
You'll start doing it from now on, though, Danny.
I think it's one of those things. It depends on the experience you've had. If you've learned from it and you've got caught in something where, I don't know what it was like at the airports when I know British Airways have had issues. There's been technical issues, a lot of systems that go down, and it's like, what's their results manual? If the ESTA system goes, everyone's checked onto the flight. How can they check that you've got it valid?
Yeah. I don't have a print of the ESTA. I tend to have the ESTA numbers, but I don't have a print.
That's fine.
I'm doing this.
As
I've got the numbers. Yeah. I just had a bit of a flashback to being a child, probably about 8 or 9, and we were going on holiday, and my parents had 2 cats when we were kids, and I remember my parents taking the cats to the cattery only to discover they hadn't had their booster jabs, and the cattery turned them away. And this was the morning of us going on holiday.
Oh my word!
And so I remember my parents madly ringing round different vet surgeries to try and get these cats their booster jabs so they could have their jabs and then go to the cattery so we could get to the airport. So that's like another element of fear for me as a dog. Our dog does go to kennels. She's a dog. I love her to bits, but she's a dog. She goes to kennels while we're away. And so I have to know that I have done her booster jabs in line with when we're going to be going away, and that she's had all her vaccinations. And then when the dog's gone to kennels, that's when my holiday starts, because she gets super stressed when she sees suitcases, and love her to bits. She's like in everything. She'll be taking underwear and socks out of the case as we're putting them in. So
she knows you're going away and she doesn't want you to.
She does, but she's also going on holiday, so
but she doesn't want to go on holiday either.
She loves it there. They spoil her rotten. So she goes first, but that whole thing of trying to plan for pets and things as well. And I know Robin and Simon.
That's a really good call. That.
Yeah. It's one of those things you don't think about it until you have a trip, and then you go, "Oh, I've got to sort all of this stuff out," and it's one of those last minute things.
Mm-hmm. And medication's the other one. The last few years, we've got past through trips. We've had to work around refrigerated medication, which is fun.
Yeah.
We won't have to do that for the next few, thankfully.
Because a lot of the airlines don't supply. They won't offer a place to keep it cool, but they will offer you ice so you can keep it cool during the flight.
In chill bag,
So,
and it's too cold to put it in cold. The hold is too cold.
It's too cold.
And
you have to have a letter from your pharmacy or doctor saying that this is your medication and you're allowed to travel with it. You've got to get pulled at security. Because
security. Who loves the 4 S's? Who's had that recently? Who's next to get it?
No.
We've not. I don't think
it's been a couple of trips.
We've not had it since COVID. I don't think.
When did you last 4 S's, John? Did you get them last year? It's your turn. I'm feeling it's your turn this summer.
What with?
4 S's security. When you can't check in online. And when you go to check in online and it says no,
that happens to me all the time, but it's never a problem. Because actually,
it was me on our first upper class flight.
But you know fine well that I quite like going to the desk at the airport.
Oh, I always go to the desk.
I always go to the desk, even if I've done online checking.
I enjoy all of that, you see. And then when it gets to security, security doesn't bother me. And actually, what's really funny is that whole scanning bit and the whole swabbing bit and things like that. I know, and this is probably where I'm actually at my most calm. It's because I know they're going to find nothing. So I'm actually quite calm about it. It's when you see other people and they're actually opening the suitcase,
stressing,
they're opening the hand luggage and they're getting swabbed and they're thinking,
because I didn't pack that.
Are you going to suss out the fact that bag smells of some illegal substance because somebody was in my house smoking whatever they smoke and this, that, and the other? I really do feel that for me is one of those moments that I actually take a great deal, but I take a great deal of comfort in the fact that there is security that's involved.
Oh, absolutely. I have no issue with
it got introduced, if I remember rightly, in 2014.
That's right.
And because I remember we were on like one of the first flights after it, and it was. I got it, and they emptied literally everything out of my bag. But what didn't happen,
including the DS that I had put in there that he didn't realise I put in there.
Beckett put stuff in the bag.
What's in this case?
And
he went,
did you?
I didn't recognise the
your
case.
Suitcase, sir. Oh yes. Oh no, I didn't.
Yeah. So yeah.
Just to make that clear, because people are asking in the chat. The 4 S's. What is the 4 S's?
Because it's additional security. So you get additional security. So you won't be allowed to check in online. Sometimes you can, but you always have to go to check in at the desk. At the desk. And you'll notice the 4 S's that will be printed on your boarding pass. And when you get to just before you board the plane,
you'll be pulled for an extra bag check, for the security check, where they'll swab you, they'll swab your hands, they'll swab your phone, they'll swab your iPad or any electronics. They may swab around your jean, like pockets of your trousers and stuff. They'll just look, and then they'll do a drug swab on it and machine.
Check through your bags.
Check through everything.
To be honest, it only adds an extra 5 minutes to it. And to be honest,
actually, what else are you doing at that point in time? And the fact that it's happening, like you say, John, it is that moment of, actually, I'm really glad they do this.
Yeah,
that's kind of what goes through my head. We had it when we came back from Dubai. Millie and I were both pulled for extra security, and they were a bit. And obviously in Dubai, the girls had to go to the female, the men had to go to the man. And Mills was a little bit freaked by it, but it was absolutely fine. And people sometimes have to take your shoes off. Inside, and that's because if you are, if you sweat and you've got drugs in your system, it tends to come through your feet. I watch all the TV shows about this stuff. I love them. Hannah's told us what it means. Hannah, thank you. Secondary security screening selectee. That is such a great trivia question.
That's in the next quiz. That
is going to win me a quiz.
So that should be that's a pointless answer.
That's brilliant.
It's like an acronym.
I like that. That's really good.
I
actually feel that and this goes against probably when you get to that bit where I know we're going to get onto maybe lounges and things like that, but airports are trying to push towards you can pay extra to go through a faster security line, right? What load of rubbish that is, right? That's I'm going to put my cards on the table. Why pay the airport to actually do their job in the same way that they should do? Because actually you don't get through any quicker anyway.
I'll tell you what's really surprises me is the difference in price between Gatwick and Heathrow.
Oh, is there a difference?
Gatwick is £5 per person. It's £25 for Heathrow.
They do not work 5 times quicker at London.
No way. No chance.
At Gatwick, I get it because
it's such a short queue. No one ever uses it.
No.
And actually, if you look, I'm talking about, and even if you go to Manchester, each different security walkthrough they have, and it's the same in Orlando when you're coming back home, but they have a target time that they aim to get you through security, and each one of those security bases or whatever they call them has a little monitor where they tell you what their current flow rate is. And actually, if you look at it, you can see those that are running behind because it's basically, on you come.
That little monitor that tells you the time is right next to the big screen that tells you all the things that you need to do when you get to security.
Oh, yes.
All the things you do or you do not need to take out of your bag.
Yeah.
The fact you need to take your belt off, take your coat and your jacket off, people, take your shoes off if it says so. Don't stand there and get to the front of the queue and do nothing.
And then you get told, everyone, oh, you've got to do this, you've got to do this, you've got to do this.
Well, interesting, when I went through Heathrow a couple of months ago, 6 weeks ago, no fluids out. Didn't need to do that anymore. No iPads. That's all changed. You need to take anything out. Whereas I think at Gatwick you still do so.
Yeah, Manchester was the same in.
They've been upgrading
October.
the scanners to make sure that's the aim, that you won't have to do that.
I would also say as well, and again coming back to what you were saying there, Claire. I know they have that list and it says you need to do this, this, and this. But every time you go to the airport, that list it changes.
It's changing,
and it depends on what day of the week it can be.
Different airports have different lists as well.
Whether you need to take the iPad out, whether you need to do this. And it's just like,
because sometimes I'm taking my iPad out ready, and they say, "Oh, you could leave that in your bag." I was like, "Really?"
Sometimes you've got to take your Apple Watch,
It's like,
take the smartwatch off, it's like pretty much strip to your underwear and then walk through.
I think
who knows?
But like I was saying before, though, when you were talking about being at the Premier Inn at Gatwick,
it
is the most amazing place to people watch. Is that security hall? I've got to say, you basically get the gist of an awful lot of people if you've got that ability to read faces and things like that, and read people's body language. It is absolutely fascinating.
And actually, brilliant.
And it possibly brings about the inner sort of police sort of reconnaissance person in me, where you're looking at someone, you're thinking, "Oh, let's stand behind them because this could be fun."
So we've got through security. What are we doing first? Because do we always have a lounge? Do we just go to Wetherspoons and just spend in departures? I know Claire's probably going to.
I can't believe you even asked the question. I'm a lounge person. I mean, we've flown BA pretty much exclusively since 2023. So we did fly Virgin in March 2023. Was the last time I flew something other than BA. We always go to the lounge. We tend to fly premium or club, and we will go to lounge. However, there are a few stops that have to be made on the way.
Okay.
Because that's the law. Number one is WH Smith's.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or plain snacks.
Yeah.
And
a meal deal.
Oh no, I don't do a meal deal.
I grab a meal deal because I don't always like their afternoon teas.
I do not like the skanky sandwiches that they sell. But the plain snacks have to be acquired. And you can't buy them before you get to the airport. I've tried before and I still go to WH Smith's.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but you have to take a big packet of
Penn State pretzels.
Penn State pretzels.
Do they not sell them there?
Not on Virgin on the plane. They don't do them anymore. But you can buy them for big ones for about £2.
We spent nearly 6 years doing this, right? Nearly 6 years doing the podcast. And we're now into what do we buy in WH Smith's at the airport?
It's important stuff. I nearly said a different word there. But
the thing is, I won't go into WH Smith's because he charged too.
Right.
I've tried.
To be fair, I
way
do
too much
prefer
money.
Oh,
it's
rip off.
Yeah.
Bring it with you. Go to Sainsbury's.
When you look at the cost,
before you get to
B&M the day before.
Yeah, exactly.
When you look at the cost of if you were buying a meal deal, it's like £6 for a meal deal.
In WH
Like,
Smith,
really?
34 quid and
With curly sandwiches.
Curly sandwiches. That's what they're horrible. They've been there 3 days.
Minging. Absolutely minging.
So we will go through WH Smith's and buy some plain snacks. Usually, something cheap and cheerful. Someone will have forgotten a charger of some description. We'll buy some magazines. Dan always buys a couple of magazines. I buy Hello, OK, Closer, Heat, all of the trash, because that's the only time I buy those. And they tend to sit in my carry-on bag until the flight home, unread. And then we may swing by Boots if there's something we need to get. There's usually something.
Usually a loofah for us.
I beg your pardon?
Usually a sponge or a loofah.
A loofah?
A loofah.
Yeah, the I'm not gonna.
Of all the random things to buy.
Becca, I shouldn't laugh because actually you said that on a podcast. I think it was a January podcast.
It may have been.
Yeah.
All the random stuff to be buying at the airport. A loofah is
not the person who buys hello or closer.
Yeah.
Put it on your list in the chat. Everyone in the chat,
what do you buy in the airport? What do you routinely buy?
And put a loofah on your list for your next trip to Orlando.
I've forgotten it because we used it the day before.
Yeah.
It's still wet, which is why you didn't pack it.
Yeah.
And then we tend to head to the lounge. And when we settled and found our spot in the lounge, had something to eat and drink.
Time to go.
Well, no, I tend to go, I'm just going to nip out. And I tend to go and have a scoot around the shops on my own, just for a moment of peace and quiet. And I'll have a little mooch around Accessorize.
I wasn't saying peace and quiet at an airport.
Well, peace and quiet
from the family.
So I'll have a little look around Accessorize. I might go and have a little mooch around the duty free.
It's that last moment of Claire's escapism, isn't it? Before you get to
before you dry.
8 hours on plane.
I'll have a champagne and a couple of things at the Fortnum Bar. No, I won't. I don't do that on my own. But I do tend to just go and check if there's anything else that I'm missing out on, really, and to keep my legs moving because you know what, I'm going to be sat down for the next 9 hours. So tend to have a little mimic cheroot around the shops and then head back to the lounge, and then there is that moment in the lounge where the flight's being called and you can see the gates up on that. And it's like, right, everyone use the nice loos before we go to the gate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you know that all of the loos on the way to the gates are going to be ramo and probably a bit grim. And then when you get on the plane, that's like next level. So there is this whole trip to make sure you use the nice loos with the nice loo roll and the nice molten brown hand soap and all of that stuff before you get on the plane. So
why is it that your gate is always like the furthest one away?
Oh, at Gatwick, it's in that rotunda thing at the end, and it takes forever to walk.
We were like that at Heathrow last time. It was like I felt like we were walking to a different terminal.
Yeah.
Do you use the moving walkways?
Travelator.
The Travelator, yes, the Travelator.
Travel now, or
travel now, or shall we travel later? Do you use them, or do you try and beat the people on the Travelators?
It's the same competition as like when you're in your car and you try and beat the sat nav.
Yeah, of course, it's
it's like you're trying to beat the person, and sometimes we've used it.
The people on the Travelator who like span the whole thing, it's just like either move over, or there's just one.
Yeah,
it's so frustrating.
I do like when people walk really fast on the Travelator, hoping they're going to get there quicker.
That's what Danny's just said in the chat. Everyone charging to the gate to get on the plane first. You're not going to get on the plane first.
Yeah,
unless you're a pilot.
But even then, you know, you're standing, you're running along to get to the gate, and then the crew are walking behind you. Like, I'm going to be sat up there forever.
Yeah. And the thing is that when you get to the gate, you don't have any of those facilities that you have when you're in the main part of the airport. So what's the point? I would also add, and this is a preemptive part. It does go back to a good number of years ago when I went on holiday to Corfu with my parents, who assured me as I was stood outside the duty-free shop that it was the final call for our flight. They were in the duty-free shop, and it's all right. Planes don't leave without you.
Wrong.
They do. In case anybody wonders, they do, or they did. They didn't even take. They didn't even.
Oh
take
no!
Cases never came off the plane. It was the last time I went on holiday with my parents.
Oh no!
I would have left them behind.
And I think I was 12 or 13 or something at the time.
And you knew better even then.
That was it. Yeah, I did.
Oh,
I was the adult. It was quite.
Planes definitely leave without you.
It might be and it was at the time you only have those like external gates way back in the day, and it was
not the ones where you have to get the bus.
Yeah,
I've had to do that one, right?
So it was like 100-degree Greek heat.
Oh
but as a kid, I had the first experience in my life of what a cold sweat was. And I was just like, I just went completely inside. I'm just like,
yeah.
And it was like, it's okay.
Oh no.
I mean, that's he'll have everything sorted.
It'll be fine.
He'll have his credit card, he'll have his wallet and stuff like that. And then my mum piped up with, slight problem. I put your jacket in the case.
Oh no.
And the jacket and the wallet in it. So we were in Corfu Airport a good long while.
Oh no, that's bad news. Let's not do that.
I've just noticed Robin's comment. Ask Simon about him missing a flight from MCO.
Almost missing a flight.
Almost.
I have this feeling of Simon being, were you the person they were calling by name? Is there a Mr. Watson in the airport? Mr. Watson, please make final call for Mr. Watson. I hope it was. There's also that moment where you're sitting at the gate and you're waiting, they call people's names. Is there a Mr. Watson at the gate? Yeah. They make themselves known to the cabin crew, to the crew. And you're thinking, say my name, because they're getting upgraded. Say my name. It never happens.
No.
Yeah.
And I'd also like to see.
Or it's like we've overbooked, we're putting you on the next flight.
Yeah, it's usually. I think if it's at the gate, it tends to be an up rather than a down. But
yeah, US airlines are very much on that. When you're sitting there and they're basically looking down the list, who paid what for the flight?
Yeah,
and it's like, oh,
who's next?
That and that. They paid over the odds. Right, we'll upgrade them because actually that suits us and we can get somewhere else in the economy, etc. Yeah.
He was in the lounge living his best life while I was at the desk.
Simon, I am with you.
We salute you, Simon. That's it. I love that. Yeah. It's exactly it. I think that's brilliant. So funny. It's absolutely superb.
We haven't been to a lounge in a while that we haven't paid separately for, so one we've always had included. So if you've blown up a class,
we'll go for a lounge if it's included in the.
Would you not pay for a lounge anyway?
Every time we've looked at the price of it, I just don't think it's worth it. And on the lounges that we've been to.
Okay.
But yeah.
I'm not sure how decent the ones at Heathrow are.
No.
I think if anyone in the comments knows, let us know.
I think the number one lounges, if you go back 10 years, they were great. Because they were quite new to the game.
Had Gatwick, if I remember
correctly. I think that if you go back 10 years plus, there tended to be like the business lounges, which basically were like coffee, tea, help yourself to spirits, because that's what everyone was drinking, and then nuts. That was kind of the only thing that was available to eat, and packets of crisps. Yeah. And then number one appeared, and they were like this whole new brand. It was young, it was sexy. I remember going to number one lounge at Gatwick, like a week after they opened, and like it was the paint was still drying on the walls, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know what they were doing. But it was good because they had like hot food and you could go, the drinks were included, and it was cheap as anything. It was probably like 15 quid each, and it was like a bargain, and kids were free, and it was brilliant. We've moved on so far now, and there's so many different lounges, and the price for me, I just can't believe they've gone up to like 40 quid a head.
At least.
The price we got for August was like £96 for both of us.
And I really, really think that's pushing and to the beyond the ridiculous.
And the thing is, by the time that we've worked out what time we're getting to the airport, what time, how much I'm going to spend going around the shops and doing that. Sometimes we've paid for a lounge, we've been in there half an hour, had a quick bite to eat, and it's time for our flight.
So this is a thing, like 40 quid each. If you you might have a quieter seating area, you might have a more comfortable seat, but you might not actually, because if they're rammed, then you may not. And I think number one particularly is the food is not fantastic. They have got a buffet area, but if you choose hot breakfast, if you've got it there in the morning, it's a microwaved bacon roll. Nobody wants to eat that. Do you know what? And please, anyone in the comments, you have never heard me say this, and don't any of you quote me on that.
Yeah.
I think I'd rather go to Spoons.
Yeah, and actually, Danny's onto something as well. In Manchester, the lounges aren't particularly good.
Yeah,
we've actually used the lounges a few times, and not for Orlando holidays. Yep. It's always a holiday where we know we've got a coach transfer when we get picked up. Because actually, what I tend to find is if you actually want a drink, that's when the lounge kind of levels up the value for money, because actually the food's not that great anyway. So you're basically looking at filling your boots and having a few beers before you actually get on the flight.
And there is a Robin's just gone clear. Robin, you know, I would do a spoon's breakfast over a microwave bacon roll in the number one lounge. However, I'm just going to say that now I can use the BA first lounge.
Yes.
And if anyone's using the BA silver lounges, so the business lounges, you will note anyone who's flying BA silver or is a BA silver member or is flying BA club. When you get into the lounge, they've got all the drinks lined up. You'll find that there's wine, there's prosecco, there's spirits and everything. They in the business lounges, they don't have champagne out. If you prefer champagne to prosecco, all you have to do is ask someone and say, "Could I have some champagne, please?" And they'll say, "How many would you like?" And they will go away and bring it back to you. Yeah. So they don't leave it out.
Problems. Good.
So they, you know, that's where problems start.
We were at.
Which time?
I'm trying to remember. We went to Spoons once, but we looked at one restaurant and the menu, we weren't sure on it, but it looked a little bit expensive. So we thought, oh, we'll go Spoons, it'll be cheaper. But actually, it was the same price as that other restaurant because they're only in competition with each other. Sometimes actually, you need to look at the menu.
Cali place at Gatwick. Cali place at Gatwick in the North Terminal, which is really nice.
There is a very nice non-Wetherspoons breakfast place at Manchester Airport.
Yes.
Yeah, if you're in Terminal
on the top floor.
Terminal 2 in Manchester doesn't have a Spoons yet. There is planning permission granted for the expansion of it, but there's no Spoons. But actually, the main bar in that new terminal part is actually the food is really good. Yes. I know Neil's in the chat, and I know he's picked up about clipping the Spoons bit for probably put it on TikTok.
I will deny all knowledge. Can I just say, everyone?
Can I just say, Neil sent me a picture about he sent me a picture about 10 minutes ago. He's actually in hospital at the moment, and he's actually there's a picture from his hospital bed where he's actually watching the show. There we go. He's watching it from the hospital. He's having his knee done. But he apologised for turning in late. Neil should see what we started with as well. So do go back and have a look at it. But from all Neil, of us, hope you're on the mend soon, mate. Because
be rehabbing. Yes.
Yeah.
Your exercises.
Yeah.
There
it says the physio. There you go.
Right. Yeah. It gets better. Promise you.
Okay, so we're all sort of mixed on whether to go for a lounge.
Yeah.
But actually going back to the okay. Well, you were saying you want to get the Spoons.
You're not paying
like
for
which
it.
lounge?
You're not paying for
the mix of which lounge or Spoons. So something when you actually book your flight, and John mentioned this earlier about the extra stuff you pay for. Do you get extra luggage? Do you go hand luggage only? Do you pay for your seat?
No.
Depends how short your trip is, Claire.
Like I just said, I'm going away for the weekend for 2 nights. I'm taking a suitcase and a carry-on. I don't do hand luggage at any time. I could go overnight and I won't do hand luggage.
Yeah,
it's not happening. I know you've done a whole week on hand luggage. I don't know how you do it.
I don't know how you do it. I couldn't.
We did bring those back.
The only time we did it, and we got rid of a lot of stuff when we were there to bring the stuff back.
Do you know what? Actually, it worked quite well. Actually, for what it was,
it did mean we didn't spend a lot souvenir-wise, so that was quite good.
Yeah, that's when pins started because they were small and they could fit in the back.
You said pins. I was like pins. Big and more. Actually, carry that.
I think that whole thing about the baggage bit is really pertinent to a lot of people because actually I think we get really hung up about it, and also the seating part.
Yeah.
If you book with Virgin, and I know this doesn't apply if you're booking through points and things like that.
Yeah.
Have a look on the Delta website because this is what we did last year. We booked through Delta and got the Delta Air miles, etc. Yeah. However, when you book with Delta, you get to choose your seat for free. And last year we paid a little bit. I think we saved about £30 a seat or whatever, but then we didn't have to pay for seat selection. So months and months out, we actually knew exactly where we were sitting,
and it's
which was hilarious. Because actually, if you go on the Virgin site and you try to do that, I'm not sure where the cutoff is. I think it may be sort of a week before you can check in.
Yeah, or depends on what level you are on the Virgin Flying Club. Yeah, because if you're red and you've booked with Virgin Holidays, you get a week before. Yeah. It used to be silver, you get a better option. I don't know whether that's changed or not since they changed their points and everything last year. But actually, Robin's right. Actually, if you just for flights only, you can book for a week before. But if you book through, if you're not,
and that's if you're silver. Good grief!
If you're the lead if you're the lead passenger on the booking, does that mean you can do that for everyone? Or is it just you?
I think it might just be you. But actually, I
don't know.
Because on BA, if you're silver, if you're the lead passenger, you get
if you add them as a household account, where I think you have to put them. So I think if you're in the same family, that under the same household, you'd be able to.
Yeah, for BA, if you're the lead passenger on the booking, you could have 10 people on the booking who are nothing to do with you, but if you put them all together on your booking, you get a silver executive club, you get free seat selection for everyone, and you get 32 kilo bags regardless of the class that you're sitting in. So you can sit in the worst seat in economy, but you can still take 2 massive bags. Or more importantly, bring 2 massive bags home.
Yeah,
that's the one.
Yeah,
and that's the key. That's the key bit as well, because actually, I think everyone needs to be prepared for that.
Do we need to do a show about airlines and benefits? And Hannah, I'm thinking you might be able to help us with this, and flying clubs and things like that. Is that a useful show?
Let us know in the chat,
because there was, especially after changes that happened with both Virgin and BA last year, but also a lot of the amendments have changed. So it's not. That would be quite an interesting one to talk about.
Maybe do it later this year when the things are settled.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good thing as well. The other thing, just bear in mind, in respect of, and again, if you're in the chat, would you pay to book a seat months and months out?
We have done.
We've done it.
There was a group. We were going with a group of 9 of us, and to be perfectly honest,
I'd pay to sit somewhere else with a group of 9.
Well, at the time, I think they were doing free seat selection. This was
and that's the issue, isn't it? It really becomes a thing.
10 years ago.
The thing is, it changes so quickly
as well.
and because with our flight that we've got in May, we've not paid for the seats because we've got a little while to go. But the interesting about it is that I'll look on their occasion how much it is, and it varies from £24 in economy seat to £94 a week later, and then it will just randomly, and it's just, there is no logic to it apart from them wanting more money out of it.
I've got to say, just for people from the US who are watching, Lisa, your point there is absolutely spot on. It really is, because on US flights, and if you go in direct, this really can impact anybody as well. But they will put you on standby if you don't pick a seat, and actually they are ruthless, particularly at busy times of the day as well. And
you'll just be bumped.
That's a really thanks for including that, because it's really worth mentioning. Really,
I remember getting on internal US flights. It was like getting on a bus, and you had no say on where you were going to sit. I mean, we're going back a few years, and it was like everyone just got on. It was like bundle to get on the plane, and can we get 3 seats together? Who knows? But Hannah said, as a family with children, she's paid to book seats. Absolutely, Hannah. That is the reason that we've done it. So now,
exactly,
Millie is now 12 and a half. So we're at the point where she will not automatically be sat by an adult. We had a bit of an argument last year about it, and she was 11 3/4. And I was like, no, she is absolutely got to sit with one of us. And she sat with me, but the other 2 people in the party were somewhere else. Morgan ended up in club for some reason. But I'm not quite sure what happened there. But now I would, if I had to pay to keep her next to one of the adults, whether that be me, Dan, Morgan, whoever, I would do that. But when Morgan and I are flying, if we end up getting separated, we've had a conversation already about when we fly in April, because we're on 2 separate bookings. The The actual conversation was, well, Morgan, do you know what? If I get upgraded, I'm going. I'll see you at the other end. Was the actual conversation.
Nice.
And he was good with that. And it's like, we don't need to be next to each other, but if you've got small kids and you need to be with them, yes, airlines will sit them near you, but there is that thing that they can be a row in front or a row behind or over the aisle from you. And I have never felt comfortable with that as a parent. So I would always pay to get seats together every time. And because that anxiety is not worth it for me.
Claire, I'm totally with you. I'm totally with you purely on that anxiety bit. And I think that is the whole thing where you go on holiday as a family. And the worst thing you would want to happen is to find yourself split across the plane. And I'm even thinking of, I think we had one trip where we flew with US Airways into New York, and then we went from New York down to Orlando, and we booked through a travel agent, third party, who we didn't get any information. It was very possibly in the times before you had online booking, etc. But it's a long time ago. I ended up in the middle seat, and I hate the middle seat. And then one of the kids ended up in the middle seat in front of me, and then Alison was like the other side of the plane. And then, when you're sitting there and you're thinking, this is a nightmare. This is just this is my worst nightmare coming to fruition. And you're just like, I'm gonna have to sit here. And then the bloke beside me was smelly and stuff like that, which really just didn't do it for me whatsoever. And I'm just like, why on earth? And from that moment, it's like, if you have to pay for it, it is just.
And you see it on the plane.
Take the hit.
The amount of times I've been in the plane and I've seen families who are fragmented, and there's like one child over there and one child over there, and they might be 13, they might be similar age to Millie, and then there's a couple together, and then and they're walking up and down the plane to try and check on their kids every three or 4 minutes, and
it's a horrible experience, Claire.
Or there's the conversation of, would you mind swapping?
Ooh.
So and actually, do you know what?
Especially if you want to swap with someone who's already paid for that seat.
Exactly.
Well, that's the thing that's the bit where the parent in me always wins the am I the arsehole moment, because actually what I want to say is, no, pay for your seat like everybody else. But what I end up doing is going, that's absolutely fine, but cabin crew, can you make sure that you put a note into the team so that I get my air miles credited, or I get a refund, or whatever that looks like. I'm happy to swap to make sure that child is next to their parent. Of course, I wouldn't want the child to cry all the way through the flight. That would be even worse. And, as a parent, that's what I would hope someone would do for me. But I want to be compensated for the fact that I've paid for my seat, I've made sure that I'm sorted, and then I'm going to move. And I know that Morgan did that when we came back last year. He swapped seats with a couple because actually the child was on their own somewhere across the plane, and he swapped. And he was on his own. It didn't matter. But it's
the other bit as well. You don't want to be responsible for someone else's kids,
right?
And that's the other bit. That's the other bit that gets me. It's just like
the end of the day. I want to get on the plane and know that I've done the right thing.
Yeah, but I'm not here as your babysitter for an 8 or 9 hour flight because your parents are away over there. It's like, no. Yeah. It's a real strange one, but it's also one of those. Just bear in mind, it's worth taking the hit, irrespective of how much you have to pay for it. It is one of those things that you actually feel
peace of mind and knowing. I mean, even then, it's not always 100%, but knowing that you should put that together, and if you're not, you can have an argument.
Yeah, exactly.
So then else we've missed, sort of flight wise.
Well, I have a secret tip, and as there's a few people less watching than there were about 10 minutes ago. Yep. This was a tip that was told to me by the crew at London Gatwick not that long ago, when I asked at check-in, as I always do, are there any upgrades available? And they said, no, not at the desk. Okay. I said, I'll ask at the gate. And they said, it's us at the gate as well. We're not allowed to upgrade people at the gate anymore. Oh, right. Okay. And Robin, I know that you have also benefited from this smidgen of advice. He said to me, What I would do if I was in your position is I would ask the crew when I get on board, because that will be then up to the cabin manager as to whether they upgrade anyone, because they can see who they've got. So if you are a single traveller and you're going on your own and there aren't any available upgrades for free when you get to the desk, when you board the plane, just have a quiet word with whoever's looking after you. Just say, just checking there aren't any seats in the next class, because whether you're, if you're a club member or something like that, a flying club member of some kind, you never know what might happen. That would be my tip. And that came from the crew. They said, don't ask at the desk when you're boarding, just ask when you get on the plane, because what happens on the plane stays on the plane. I didn't get an upgrade, but what I did get was moved to the front row of premium, which was all the legroom and had nobody next to me. So that was, pretty epic. And I think that, if you're on your own, you're more likely to be successful.
We witnessed something like that on our flight last year, where I think they were one of the last people on the flight, and they were asking the cabin, because they were right at the back of the plane. And it was like they said, I haven't got room for luggage. It's like, is there any chance there's any other space? And they said, well, if you want to wait in that seat for a few minutes, we'll wait till everyone else is on board settled, we're just about to take off, then you can move to that seat.
Yeah, right. And I think sometimes it's just worth your while having the crew are there to help you. It doesn't make a difference to their day whether you're sat there or over there. Let's face it, they've got the food loaded for every seat. They've got, crew for every seat. If you're polite, you're well-mannered, you're helpful, and just say, is there anything? And then Robin's just saying, she ended up, can I just say, thanks to me.
Yeah.
Robin ended up sitting at the bar with Adam Hatton and getting invited to a day out in a cabana with him. So you owe me, Robin. I'm just saying.
That's brilliant.
I know you're paying me back well within kind in April, May. But yes, it does work. And I would say that people, don't be afraid to ask for an upgrade. They can only say no. They can't.
That's true.
Yeah.
We've asked a couple of times at the desk, and sometimes we've saw the price and gone like, no, it's okay.
I always say, is there any complimentary upgrades? I never ask, is there any seat? I always say, are there any seats available?
Yeah.
Without any
class. Can I also just add into the mix as well, if people are watching this and actually take, if you take notes and stuff like that, if you know which airline you're going on and you know which route you're going, so it doesn't matter if it's Orlando or not, generally the Orlando route now, most aircraft are much of a muchness.
Yeah.
But you can go to seatguru.com and check out the seating map, because it will actually give you either reviews of the seat that you're looking at. It will also give you the map of the actual plane, so you don't end up with that seat that's right by the toilets. I can't abide being there because the smell becomes quite unpleasant. You also get the seats that are maybe not quite got a full window view.
Yeah.
Because it's slightly offset, and so you won't be getting the full view out the window. It just gives you just a little bit of insight. So Seat Guru, if you go to one, it's a really good website.
That used to be the Dibbers Row game.
Oh, yes. Dibbers Row.
The back row upstairs on the
in the bubble.
On the old boat,
Oh man, those are the best seats.
Just
recline all the way.
And
just have the best seats. We said 747 seats to come back. I would absolutely do anything to fly.
Absolutely.
Ben, you asked, is there anything else? I think when you get to the bit when you get to the other end and you disembark, you've got your bags, you've managed to make it to the hotel. It's that little bit of what do you do? Because
depends on the time of your flight, isn't it?
Yeah. So coming from the UK, I know that when I get there in April, it's going to be like 3:30 when we land. So by the time we've cleared MCO Terminal C, picked up bags, used our the app to get through security quickly, picked up the car, driven to the hotel, it'll be like 6 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
And it's then, what do you do? It's too early to go to bed, even though your body's saying it's bedtime.
Yeah.
What do you do? Do you go out for dinner? Do you go to a park? Do you go shopping? What do people do
on our last trip?
when they arrive?
2 p.m. We landed at 1 p.m.
We landed at 1. We got
through everything into the hotel by 2 p.m.
Yeah.
Wow.
And It was 2:30. By the time we got to our room,
what did you do?
We went.
Did you go to a park?
We went to different parks.
Yeah.
Was that because you didn't want to use a park day?
Yeah, we didn't have park tickets. But so yeah, if we had park tickets, we probably would have gone. But we were staying at Old Key West, so it was like we were trying to get our bearings, and then it was like, you know what? Let's go and get some food. We're hungry. Let's go and get some food, and then
a sandwich.
Polite
pig. Which you have to. It wasn't as good as
I wanted to eat. I haven't been there yet.
Yeah. You're just about to say something, Claire, that actually I forgot. Because actually, once we arrived, I find it really difficult to get my metabolism going.
Yeah, that's it.
And I don't really feel as if I want to eat.
No, this is the thing. You've got to try and force yourself to do something that feels completely unnatural at that moment in time.
Yeah. You just want to go to bed at sometimes in your head, but then it's like it's bright outside. It's like it's
you can't
30+ degrees, and it's like
can't do that.
Weirdly, I think this year is going to be quite good for us.
Because we're flying into Tampa.
We're flying into Tampa. We're on a later flight.
Landing in at 7:30.
We don't get into 7:30. So by the time we get to the hotel, it's going to be about 9 o'clock, 9:30, 10ish.
Yeah.
So
well, you were with the Tampa. So by the time you say 7:30 into Tampa.
Yeah.
You'll be in the car by you'll be in the car by 8:15. So you'll be at the hotel by 9:30 at the latest.
Yeah.
Tampa at that time is going to be dead. There'll be no traffic. You'll straight on Waffle, and you'll be at the hotel by 9:15, 9:20 maybe. And then it's like, so that's the thing. If you arrive at that time, what do? You can't go to bed at that time.
Yeah.
Because you'll be up at 3 in the morning for us coming from the UK. And the number of times that the best time I did it, I think was the first time I did a solo trip. And I met up with Jason, and we went into Epcot, and we did that live show with the After Hours crew.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
That was awesome because I don't think I went to bed until like 2 in the morning because Jason and I went and got food afterwards. So it's like 2 in the morning. It was just like 6 a.m. And I remember looking at my phone, and like my friends were all getting up for work, and I was like, I haven't even been to bed yet. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And I went to bed at like 2:30 in the morning and woke up at 7, and it was perfect. And now
you feel good about it.
Yeah, totally. And now I just I try and push it as late as I possibly can. And that, when we go in April, Morgan and I are going to arrive. We're going to be at the hotel by 6. What do we do? Do we go to Walmart and do the shopping? Do we
Publix, it'll help you sleep.
Well, this is it. Where do we go? Do we go to a park? But then my cousin hasn't got a park ticket at the weekend because she's got a Pixie Pass because she's a Florida resident. So we can't go to a park without her.
Yeah.
And it's like this whole drama for me is like, what do we do that night? That's the thing. I'm thinking about.
Dahlia Lounge.
But I can't sit in Dahlia Lounge for 6 hours. Well, I mean, I totally could, but I'm not going to sit in Dahlia Lounge for 6 hours.
Yeah.
So sit in Dahlia Lounge for 3, and then
I can't afford to sit in Dahlia Lounge for 6 hours.
Yeah, true.
I think a lot of this depends on your flights, and I think this is one of the things that really it struck me last year because usually we've always gone indirect to save a few quid.
Yeah.
Obviously, last year. We went direct for possibly only the second ever time. The first time we didn't pay for flights, I hasten to add. Thank you, Mr. Branson. But last year, when we arrived, we did exactly what you said, Claire. Mobile passport control.
Yes.
Straight to garage, sorted out with the car. We were actually in the accommodation before 6 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And I've actually just put it up on my trip report because actually as a day, that for us totally changed our whole perception of how you can actually get there. And if you go in direct, you generally on that time, and like you're talking about, Ben,
it ends up like 14 hours, not 9, and it's
and it really for me it just seemed such a different way of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And we and again you just forget of just how much it was a game changer because actually that night we just ended up, I think we did go for I think we just went to went to meet Josh because
that's what we did.
I think we
not meet Josh, we went to meet Morgan. I
think we picked him up from work, and then we ended up going to Target and getting a load of beer and loads of beer and loads of pizza, and that was about it, And
maybe that's what we'll do. We're going to do a pub stop.
I think at that point, I think it was one of them things that you just like the whole excitement of your holiday, and the whole excitement, and that initial start to your day where we started the show, where you've got that little bit of inner sort of, have I got everything?
Yeah.
Is everything going to be okay? Is everything going to be on time? Is the plane going to be there? That's always my other.
Am I going to be delayed?
Yes.
How long are you sitting on the plane for 3 hours?
Flight Radar 24 is your friend for that one as well.
Yeah.
London Gatwick BA flight 2037.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the other one.
Is the aircraft going to work? Yeah. Who knows?
And again, if you're on Virgin as well, once you get bored looking at the in-flight entertainment, find the external cameras that are on the aircraft.
No.
That is
on the A350 1000.
It's just amazing, Ben.
If I'm on the A350 1000, I'm in club and I'm lying down sleeping.
It's absolutely brilliant, because actually, as you're coming into Orlando, and you get that, that is just brilliant. It's just the most amazing thing, and because you can see it visually, it's so much better. We were on a flight years ago where you got the air traffic control and flight deck commentary.
Oh my God, no! That sounds horrific.
It was, because there was a massive.
I genuinely can't think of anything worse.
There was a massive.
I don't even like looking out the window when we're landing.
No, right?
We've landed.
There's that moment of realization of how fast you're traveling as you're coming down to land.
Oh, I love watching the flight map, and it's like you see the speed, and it's like, oh, that sounds good.
Yeah, brilliant. I love that. I absolutely love that. I just love everything about it.
Oh, I love it.
I'd rather sit in the middle of 4 rows anyway if I'm in economy, so I'm anywhere near the window. But
I don't mind having a window, but there is something weird that happens. Maybe this is just me and my slightly neurospiciness. The thing that happens is when you're coming into land, and I am fine when I'm up in the air. It's just landing and take off and landing. I don't like, and turbulence, obviously, because I can't deal with that. I spent a lot of time talking to friends who used to be cabin crew about the pings and the phone calls to different people, the bing bing and the 10,000, all of that stuff. I get that. But the bit that blows my mind is when we're coming into land and you get to about 500 feet above ground level. And all of a sudden, there's this sudden
noise
realization, there's noise, and suddenly you see how quickly you're traveling, because until then it's not real. You're just flying through the air, that's
you can see clouds, and that's
right. And then you get to that point and you can see, as you're approaching the ground, how quickly you're moving. And I just like this, like
see, the thing is, what I love about it is like the amount of times that we've been to Orlando that I look out on the window and go like, oh, I recognize where we are.
I like it when you go into Orlando, you go across Cape Canaveral, you go into the building, the big shed is the biggest shed in the world.
Maybe it's just a point of we've been to Orlando too many times.
Never too many times.
No, but you know the flight path the flight path that you're taking.
Well, sometimes it changes. We go straight across.
But if you end up going on that loop, you get to see so much more that's familiar, and it is absolutely amazing.
Do you always try and sit on the A side on the way out and the K side on the way back?
It doesn't matter. I don't give a stuff about where I sit. As long as I get the window seat.
You're on the aisle.
I'm on the window seat.
I'd be on the aisle.
I am window seat every time, because I just love airline stuff, and it's probably another good one if you're that way inclined. If you're in the north and you quite like Manchester, Airliners Live on YouTube is a really good channel to watch, or Big Jet TV and Jerry out of Heathrow at least twice a week. Absolutely unmissable viewing. And for some people who walk in my house, they probably think I'm as boring as anything else. But that for me is what encapsulates what a travel day is about. I love airlines. I love watching aircraft, and I love that whole. It's that we even stayed at the airport at MCO one time, and it was a smell of jet fuel while you were in the swimming pool.
I like the smell of jet fuel.
It's quite something, Claire.
There's nothing else that smells like it.
No, there isn't. And actually, it just permeates the air.
It's when you do a room tour and you get to the window and you can see the you can see the airport. You can see the runway. That's cool.
Yeah. I love that.
It's just one of them things.
Rather than the car park.
Yes,
I do like a good room tour, Claire.
I know.
Do you know what? I can't wait for our next travel day, and I know we've got.
See the time. I'm so sorry.
I know. It's just been brilliant. It really has. And actually, we haven't mentioned the one thing that is the most noticeable thing about when you touch down in Orlando, and that is when
nobody claps.
No, well, that's one thing. but when you get off the aircraft,
the heat, the humid smell.
It's just smell.
Smell.
It's that smell that.
And if you land in Terminal B, there's the carpet.
Anything else?
Yeah.
It's just a smell, and having gone back after 5 years not being there, and when we arrived with Virgin, and they get you to put the screens down to keep the heat out of the aircraft. No idea what's going. Doesn't matter. But you get out of the plane, and it's just like that whole Orlando smell, and you're just this is rather special. It really is, and
it's
it is
the smell of dampness.
It's just
in a good way.
It is. It's just absolutely brilliant. I don't think there's anything that can beat it in the world, and I think that's the thing. And as Hannah said in the chat, Orlando has got the most magnificent airport carpets. If you've missed them in the past, open your eyes.
You can buy socks in the same.
I was about to say you can buy socks to match as well, which is really good.
I think we are travel day out. I think that's it for tonight's live show. So we hope we've helped make your next travel day a little bit smoother. I'm hoping I'm going to write down all of these tips and use them in May and August. So
show it off now. Look at that. You're going in May and August.
Claire's April and August.
Good grief. Very happy. So any wonder I'm on the bottom step tonight. That's it.
Listen, you've only got one trip booked. So if you've got more than one, you're on the...
It won't feel any better. We're not going to Orlando in May.
There you go. Yeah, you just got Disneyland.
Well, if we're ranking up other trips, then
yeah. Let's go back. Go back to the start of the show. Claire just keeps a bag packed, the suitcase packed, ready.
I have a packed case.
It's like if in case of emergency.
Right.
Emergency suitcase to Orlando.
You never know.
Me
and Robin were on the same level. Except she just keeps hers there. She has an owner's locker. Not an owner's locker. She has a locker at Carrie's house.
She has a Carrie.
You've made it when. That's exactly it. Isn't it?
If you enjoyed the show, make sure to give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a show. And also, if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else you get your podcasts, don't forget to hit the follow and leave us a review. It really helps. So we'll be back next week where we're going to be sharing whether you should be staying at a villa or a Disney resort on your next trip to Orlando.
Oh, are we? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I remember we spoke about we're going to compare actually prices and price up villas, and we're going to work homework for
next week. Oh dear.
So and that's the end of the show. But don't forget to follow us on all the socials at GB Mickey Waffle, and we look forward to seeing you next week. And there's just one thing left to say. We'll see you soon.
We'll see you real soon.
Now my wheels in motion and my windows open with the wind blowing.